I have 3 boys, and in growing up, one thing that they thoroughly enjoyed or anticipated from their dad, me, was these words. I want to tell you a story about when I was your age. When I mentioned that, I had their full attention and their ears were perked up. They were at the edge of their seats and they listened intensely. I have a lot of stories to share. I lived a lot of life, have had a lot of experiences. So today, on Can It Be Fixed, I have a story I want to share with you about when I was a kid and where some of the passion comes that I have in fixing things that are broken. A friend of mine and me went back to the woods that was directly behind our house, probably about a half a mile, maybe not quite, walk. We'd go back there often to explore, wander around, and see what we could find and do. Well, one day while we were back there rummaging around in that woods, came across an old trash heap. I guess it's been told to me that back in the day, there were no landfills to haul the trash to, so individuals would take their trash back to their woods and start a trash pile where they could go back to and pull stuff out if they needed it for a project or repair. It's their scrap yard. Well, I was back there looking at that scrap yard and I was intensely intrigued. And I noticed something. I noticed a flat piece of steel. I pulled this piece of steel out of that pile. I drug it to the house. It measured about 18 inches wide, maybe a couple of feet long, maybe longer and wider. And I looked at that piece of steel and I looked at my friend and I asked him, "What do you see here?" He said, "I see an old rusty sign. What do you see?" And I looked at him with a smile on my face. And I said to him, "I see a go-kart. I'm going to build a go-kart out of this rusty old sign." So I took that sign, and for many days and weeks, I used my dad's welder as a cutting torch. I used some old scrap piping that he had in the shop. And I cut, and I welded, and I cut, and I welded. And when I got done, I had a go-kart frame built. And I used that old rusty sign for the floor. It took me quite a long time to get this old rusty sign to resemble, and I may say, roughly resemble, a go-kart. But it did. I built the components for the front axles. I found components for the back axles. I found a sprocket, and I salvaged an old junk West Bend 2-cycle engine. Someone had given it to me. It didn't run. And I worked and I worked. And the things I had to buy, I scraped to get the money to do so. I needed tires. I found tires. I needed bolts for axles. I found bolts for axles. And I was able to piece together a go-kart. The next step was to get that go-kart mobile. So with this old West Bend engine, I worked and I worked and I adjusted and I tore the carburetor apart. I tried to get so it had gas, and finally it popped one day. It actually started and it ran. So like the kid I was and the friend I had, we drug this go-kart out on the highway It was 116 west of Geneva. And I got that thing running. And I stood on the back of it while my friend drove it. And all of a sudden that engine grabbed hold and it shot off like a bullet. And I went flying. As he topped the hill, I fell off the back of that thing and he just shot down the highway. I don't know how fast he was going, but it seemed like it was fast. And I rolled on the highway and it ripped my pants open. I come running to him. It worked, holding my pants up. It worked. I felt so good about taking an old rusty sign, an old junk motor, some welding rods, an old Lincoln 220 welder, and some galvanized piping that was just laying there, some bolts, and a lot of elbow grease, a lot of hard work and determination. But I built that go-kart and it actually went down the road. I wonder where that go-kart is today. It's probably in someone else's junk pile. But the point I am trying to make with this story is that if you put your mind to it, your determination is there, you can accomplish a lot. Who knows, maybe even you'll find an old rusty sign and build a go-kart. Can it be fixed? Even back then I thought it could, and more so today. Can it be fixed? Sure it can. Can you do it? Absolutely. I appreciate you, and as long as I can, I will continue to bring you the videos that I've been bringing. And who knows, maybe even again, sometime in the future, I'll say these words. I want to tell you about a story when I was a kid. And I hope you scoot yourself up to the edge of the couch and listen as I share some of the experiences and exploration and the exploring that I had as a kid. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.